uncontested. A Russian civil war starts almost immediately with the people who oppose Lenin and the Bolsheviks, and it will go on for several years and be terribly bloody and draw in the great powers as well. It also will not include 50 million or more people who are counted as the citizens of old Russia, as some of these territories begin to break away from Russia. Again, one of the really dangerous things that the new Bolshevik government professes is a belief in self-determination. Well, there are lots of different peoples who didn't want to be a part of the Russian government, perhaps the Finns, the Poles, the Ukrainians, and others, who were starting to think maybe they would just leave. They were far from the only peoples who were members of larger state entities around the world who thought that they would like a crack at self-determination. All these European countries that had colonies were in the same position, and there was no message more dangerous than the idea that the time had come to perhaps allow all these people to decide for themselves whether they want to stay colonies. Already, the plague bacillus begins to spread and threaten not just the Allies and the Entente powers, but soon the powers that made it possible for Lenin to get back and start the fire in Russia to begin with. This is the point in the story where Russia and communism veer off into their own tale, a very long, complex tale that impacts the rest of the 20th century. You can easily make the case that perhaps the most important long-term effect of the First World War is the collapse of the Russian Tsar and eventual replacement by the Bolsheviks. It will eventually lead to Joseph Stalin and the horrors of the Gulag and the Cold War. There is a wonderfully prophetic line around the time of Karl Marx, and you can see how long before this time period that revolutionary thinkers like Bakunin were saying, quote, "If you took the most ardent revolutionary, vested him in absolute power, within a year he would be worse than the Tsar himself." End quote. And for all his high-minded rhetoric, very quickly, Vladimir Lenin was proving Bakunin right. But in late 1917, early 1918, that side of the Bolsheviks and the communist regime in Russia was still debatable and unknown. If you actually read their public pronouncements, they look like an almost, and you know, in hindsight this sounds terrible, but almost a refreshing group of idealists who refuse to play by the old cynical, hard-bitten, rules of the European powers. And to get an idea of how difficult it is to figure out, what's going on there and what these people are like, you can look at diaries written during the time period where people try to make sense of what they're seeing in Russia. Take, for example, Evelyn Princess Lucher. We've talked about her before. She's an English wife of a German nobleman living in Germany, and she kept a diary that's often referred to give sort of an impression of what's going on in Germany and the feelings that they have. And she writes about this new government in Russia while the peace negotiations to end the war in the East are going on. Those negotiations will end up with one of the most one-sided treaties in all history. It's called Brest-Litovsk. And the only reason it's so one-sided is that the Bolsheviks were in such danger of getting overthrown before they had consolidated power that eventually they just agreed